Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is promise. Let's take a look at some definitions or ways we can use this verb. The first and most common way that you will hear the verb promise used is to mean to assure someone that one person will definitely do, give, or arrange something. The word assure here might be new for you. It is a synonym for our verb of the day, promise. I've heard other people express this as giving one's word. So many times when I talk about promise, I'm talking about the future tense. And it's really common to hear speakers say, I will do something, right? And they mean, I intend. I will definitely do this, right? It's not just a possibility. It's not a, I may do it, I might do it, I could do it. But I will definitely do this. A second way to use the verb promise is to mean to announce something as being expected to happen. And I recently heard this used in a weather forecast. The particular meteorologist, I think, said something along the lines of, Saturday promises to be a beautiful day, which might sound kind of funny, but it's going to this idea of expectation. We expect the sun is going to be out. There's going to be a pleasant temperature, no rain, and that's what I think the meteorologist meant by using this particular verb. Promise is a regular verb. To make the progressive tense, we need to drop the E and then add ing to make promising. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are made by just adding D, since this verb already ends with an E. The base verb, promise, ends with a S or S sound. It's unvoiced, which means our past tense ending is going to make a T sound. Promised, promised. You might be happy to know that I don't have any additional phrasal verbs or additional meanings for this particular verb, so we can focus on those two primary or most common ways that the verb promise is being used. And we'll keep practicing using our verb of the day, and we'll use the imperative, simple past, and simple future to work on that. So let's talk about the imperative first. Some people might know this from their English classes as a command. What's unique about it is that this particular sentence starts with a verb. That's kind of unusual. Generally in English, when we're making affirmative or negative sentences, we're starting with a subject. But here, in the imperative, the subject is implied. It's you, singular, if I'm talking to one person, or it's you, plural, if I'm talking to many people. So we can always soften our command, our telling someone to do something, by adding please. We can do that at the beginning of the sentence, or we could do it at the end, but you don't need to do it in both places. So let's take a look at an affirmative example using our verb of the day. Promise me that you will wear a mask when you go grocery shopping. Okay? So here we're giving that command. Promise that you're definitely going to wear a mask. If I want to make a negative imperative sentence, so I'm telling someone not to do something, I will start with don't. Then I'll use my base verb, and that's really all the structure I need to make that sentence. So here's an example. Don't promise employees raises and then not follow through. Right? This is good advice for managers or anyone that owns a business. You'll notice I don't have yes or no question examples here in the imperative because that doesn't exist. The imperative is just commands or declarative sentences. Let's take a look now at simple past. We use this verb tense to talk about completed actions that occurred at a definite time. So sometimes that definite time is just implied. It might not exist within that sentence, and that's okay. If I ask somebody a question and refer to yesterday or last week, last month, the person doesn't have to include yesterday, last week, last month in their answer back to me. In the affirmative, when I want to make a simple past tense sentence, I'm going to use the ed form of our verb. So the past tense, which happens to be the same as the participle here because it's a regular verb. This is true no matter what my subject is. So here's an example sentence. The candidate promised to lower taxes. If you've been watching this week's videos, you know I've been talking some words as they connect to politics and elections. Since we are getting ever closer to the U.S. presidential election here in the United States. And I chose this word promise because I think it fits. And it might be something you hear more often as we get closer to election day. If I want to make a negative sentence in the simple past tense, I'm going to use did not and then my base verb. So here I don't want the ed in the negative. You might hear native speakers use the contraction form, didn't, and that's in my example sentence here. The doctors didn't promise that the treatment would be pain-free. So there's probably going to be some pain associated with this treatment, is what this sentence is. Finally, if I want to make a yes or no question in the simple past tense, I'm going to start with did, then I'll have my subject, and then the base verb. Did she promise to be back in time for dinner? Next, let's take a look at simple future. Today, we'll focus on using will and our base verb. The nice thing about using will is that it's going to stay the same no matter what our subject is, whether it's he, she, they, I, you, we, or they. It's always will and then the base verb. Let's look at the affirmative example. Politicians will promise anything in the weeks before an election. Our next sentence here, in the negative, we can make by using will not or the contraction won't and the base verb. Let's take a look at that example. Government officials won't promise that a COVID-19 vaccine will be affordable. This is unfortunately a true statement that I've seen mentioned in several news reports over the last few weeks. Finally, if I want to make a yes or no question in the simple future, I'm going to start with will, then I'll have my subject, and then the base verb. Will you promise not to worry? Next, let's look at some words that are related to our verb promise. And the first word you'll see on the screen here has the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation. It's just the noun form of promise. Like our verb, this also can have a couple different meanings or usages. So we'll take a look at each one. First, the noun promise could mean something said that one will do a particular thing or that a particular thing will happen. This connects really closely to that first definition of the verb that we looked at. I have an example sentence here, again, using yesterday's verb of the day and its related forms. So, many candidates make promises while campaigning. So in this particular sentence, make is my verb, promises is a noun, and then while campaigning, campaigning is the gerund, it's the action form. And in case campaign is a new word for you, I'll put a link to the previous video so you can check it out. The second way we can use the noun promise is to mean the quality of potential excellence. Has a really positive meaning to it. Let's take a look at an example of this usage. The new cancer treatment shows great promise. So in this particular sentence, perhaps it's a new medicine or something else, but it has this quality that we think is going to be really effective and therefore excellent. A third way to use the noun promise is to mean an indication that something specified is expected or likely to occur. Let's take a look at that usage. Recently, there has been a promise of peace between the two sides. So again, this is more of that indication that something is likely. The last word I'm going to leave you with today is an adjective. It's promising. Its meaning ties back to the second definition of the noun we just looked at. So the adjective promising means showing signs of future success. Here's an example of that in a sentence. Are there any promising vaccines for COVID-19? And I really hope the answer is yes to that question. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.